All right. Good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone doing? Paul Traney here. I'm going to dive into some photo matching and all that good stuff. All right, we are back. Cool. All right, thanks so much for hanging out with me. Just refreshing everything. I'm going to dive into this right now. Just saving some photos to my library and doing all sorts of fun things. All right, let's just switch over. Sorry, my internet connection seems kind of going to dive into just doing some color matching and some photo matching, if you will. You can see kind of right in here. This is kind of what I was working on. So this is actually done with a couple different photos. Okay, so it's sort of like, how do you match up this content? What's the easiest way? And all of that. So Vin, you are right. There's He-Man in the background with some bad guys. Triclops, Skeletor, and some Thor characters. So good evening, Thomas. Let's dive into this. Photos with sculptures, and it's going to largely come down to sort of the angle of the photo, right? So getting that and then manipulating that accordingly. So yeah, let's do this right now. In fact, let's start with this piece right here. So it's all about finding the right photo. So I have a couple in here that I can kind of take a look at. And that's what I'll do. I'll just kind of drop a couple in because I want to kind of match up a photo here. Let's bring, they're pretty close. By the way, if we take a look, and actually I'll just double click on that photo right here so we can open it up and place these side by side just so we could see. These, yeah, that's not bad. So again, I can dive into using that one. I'm going to drop in a couple more that I might have in other libraries. Let's grab this one. There's this woman right here matching up that photo, and then we'll do one more. Maybe it's back here in people. We'll grab this one as well. Good evening, Munir. Good to have you here. All right, so here's my different photos. Typically, I will take a photo, and yeah, I probably need to size it up some. I'm going to just cut out this portion. And we're going to work on angles. We can work on color later, but I'm going to start with just angles. Right here, I'll drop down the opacity about 50%, right? So you get that. We can kind of see both eyes. It gets kind of super confusing right in here, and that's what I'll try. I'll do Command-T to hit transform, by the way, and then I'll start to rotate this and place it into place. But before I even do that, this is what I like to do, by the way. Baruch and Munir and Thomas and everyone, I will usually take this object and I'll convert it to a smart object. Okay, so what that helps me do is when I convert it to a smart object, and let me show you the difference, by the way. Rasterize layer. We have one that's a smart object and then one that isn't. Let's just say this one that's not a smart object. If I adjust it, Command-T, and I rotate it like so, and then I tilt it down, I hit Enter. If I go back in and do Command-T, it gives me this perfect square, and I actually want it to be bound to the box. Okay, so remember the degree as to which I rotated the object, and that's what a smart object will do. So I'll do the same thing with smart object, Command-T, rotate, maybe that's right, I don't know, hit Enter. Oh, I want to go back in and rotate it. So that being said, I'll maybe drop, this is another thing you could do. I don't know if you know this as well, Anne, but you can, Anne Bracker, good to see you, Anne. Hello. Come in here, like I need to drop the opacity of this. I can do a lot of these controls, especially since it's a smart object. I can adjust the opacity without escaping out of a transform. So I can drop down the opacity, because that's what I'll do. I'll just like drop it down, try to get this aligned, right, like so. Maybe increase the size. Adjust. and continue to work that way. I'll hit enter. Taking this to the next level. I am doing fantastic, by the way. Thank you for asking. I don't know why life never slows down. Can anyone answer that for me? Next thing I'm going to do to match this photo is I'm going to go ahead and add a layer mask. Now, when I add a layer mask, by the way, right down here, if you can, maybe I'll pull out this panel. When I add a layer mask, if I just click layer mask, because I actually want to just isolate and show the eyes and the lips and the nose. If I add a layer mask, it's going to add it as white. I'll undo that because I actually want most of it black. I'll hold down the Alt key and then I'll click, and then it makes everything black within that layer mask. Now I can start to paint with white. Switching to my paintbrush, holding down the Shift key, adjusting the feather, if you will, and then kind of painting it in. So, okay, there's that eye, there's that eye. The nose is right there, the lips are right here. So this makes it much easier to align my photo with the one beneath it. And again, I can drop down that opacity. But this is just easier to work with, to be honest with you. So from there, Command T, it's non-destructive, it's kind of like that. Okay, usually with a lot of these, it's actually not going to be perfect because they're two different photos. But so far, this is matching up pretty well. So yeah. Yeah, and it is also hard. Life doesn't seem to slow down. It's really hard when you're in a different city all the time. Oh yeah. So I have that pretty much aligned. Okay, the nose actually isn't quite aligned, so I'm going to just duplicate this layer. I will duplicate layers. Ooh, I already manipulated that a little bit, looks like. What's happening there? Okay, so the nose doesn't quite match up. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to rasterize this layer. I'm going to move this nose down. Yeah, everybody's going to wonder what I'm doing. Delete layer mask. Adding a layer mask. Again, I like showing you real time. Sorry if I'm going kind of fast. And B for brush. We're going to isolate this nose. Let's just bring in the nose. The nose is the only part that's not aligning, right? So I'm going to cheat the nose. I'm going to cheat this nose down a little bit, just like that. And then I'll turn on that background layer. Okay, so again, B for brush, kind of paint in a little bit more white. And increase the opacity all the way up. That was the problem. That's why I was looking a little off. But now I have this all the way up. And now we can kind of work on this some more. Hello, Mike Priest. My UK trip was fantastic. I got to spend the most time in that city out of London, Paris, and Berlin. So I had a good time. I stayed down near Oxford Circus, which is just where a lot of shopping happens, so it was awfully dangerous for me. So now I'm just painting in, and we can see that this is pretty much matched up, except for a couple areas, right, that I'm not even going to worry about too much. What I thought would be fun, by the way, is just using a different brush. So I'm actually going to go in here, and this is just purely artistic. I got these Kyle's Screen Tone brushes. So I'm thinking rather than just going with this boring airbrush, if you will, I'm going to paint with deselect, B for brush, taking the colors. Actually, the colors work fine. Let's go with, I just want to paint with white, and I'm just painting with that halftone effect, right? Painting on with that halftone, as you can see. Because again, I thought this would be kind of a cool look. I might need to manipulate that eye a little bit, but at least I thought this halftone effect would be kind of cool. There we go. Is watching from the UK. That's awesome. People are watching from Mexico. That's fantastic. But that's what I'm doing right now is hit B for brush, painting in with white in these areas, and then also adjusting the brush as well. So I have this screen tone brushes. That's what I'm using. See, that gives me that pattern. For these screen tone brushes, I can actually adjust the hardness, so I can make it a little smoother. I should be able to. And maybe I'll take down the flow. And I'm just painting on here to kind of bring in that eye and the lips. You get the idea. All right, let's move on from there. There's the nose. And let me show you some other manipulation techniques that I think you should know about. If you ever want to flip the colors, oftentimes you're painting with black and white. You hit X. So X will flip those two colors, just so you know. So when I'm painting on layer masks, I'm typically toggling between the two. Right, and let's paint that nose on. Like so. And you can see the font. Oh, not that one. Let's go to the one. You can see here's the final one. Looks very much like the splash screen for Illustrator. Does anybody remember that? Oh yeah, the Botticelli's Venus. Mochamp's wondering where Mike is in this chat. If I ever holler out somebody's name, it's because they're probably watching on Facebook or they're on Twitter or YouTube. So there's a couple different platforms I'm broadcasting to right now. Okay. Cool. So again, the idea is take down the transparency. So just kind of recap. Take the object, make it a smart object, take down the transparency. Start painting with a layer mask just to isolate the eyes to get it in the right spot, right? I have so far, right? And I think the magic really came with the brush, right? So we want to blend two photos together. Still show some of that the statue behind it using those screen tones, right? And this is the one I'm working on currently, right? This one actually needs a lot of work as well. But how would you go about working on this? Like similar statue, and dropping in some photos that match that angle, right? What you can try, by the way, check this out. You ready for this? Really fast. Let me show you this. Let me export this out. We're going to try something. Here is this particular face. This is what I'm going to try. You ready for this? I want to match this photo and maybe find another photo of a face that has this same angle, right? So you ready for this? I'm going to tint this. I'm going to try to make this look like a real face. So right in here, this is where this is going to be some sort of tan tone, all right? So that's what I'm going to do right now. Easier this is going to be. All right, there we go. So this is the, skin tone. Just like I'm just kind of throwing this together, right, really fast. Just trying to make a picture. And again, this looks a little too bronze. I might want to shift this, make it a little lighter. But I'm basically making a face, right? So I'm just going to flatten this, saving this. This is the face that I want to search on. And I could use, go back out here. This is another one I was thinking about using. With Adobe Stock, you can search based on images. So I can grab that image, drop it into Adobe Stock, just like you can with Google Images, and find other, it does a pretty good job. It's almost too good. I was hoping for some real faces. Yeah, I was hoping for some real faces. Yeah. Let's try that on Google Images. All right. Munich, Germany in the house. I haven't been there in years. Visually similar images is what we're finding. So we're finding all these statues. This was just a hunch that I was kind of trying, is it recognizes it as a statue, and actually what I wanted it to return was an actual human face at that same angle. But you have to admit, this visual search is awesome, by the way. If you ever want to match something, even based on, say, the content, really doesn't matter what it is, right? Just match the content, not the face, but it should give me like maybe more full head statues, as you can see, right? Or I can say, hey, you know what, match it based on the composition. This composition isn't that, it's awfully centered, but if I used a different image, you'd obviously see a difference. And then if I want to match this just solely on the color, it's going to bring up those visually similar images with the same color. Okay, cool. Anyways, I thought that was easy and kind of cool. And my next step would be to match that face. Let me know if you have questions. I'm going to dive into this. There's color matching I can do, but I'm just matching the position right now. Okay. And in this case, it would just be eyeing it, figuring out what images I can use that is going to be the same size. So yeah, image search is great. By the way, image search is great if you create something just to see who else is using your images. You know, that's why I think it's good. It's like kind of seeing if anybody's like stealing your stuff. So you do it with your own work. And I'm going to do it with this image. Zoop, 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 zoop. All right. Fantastic. Shrink this down into place. Drop in the opacity even before you hit enter. And something like that. There you go. Okay, everyone, I am slowing down. I have there we go. Dropping in that right there so it matches her face is the goal. And just like I was doing with the wings. Okay, so I'm going to work on this some more, by the way. So stay tuned. Adding real photos to statues. As you can see, I need to continue this. Maybe add a dress down here. And I'm just going to do this all off stream, if you don't mind. And then you can go ahead and check it out on Instagram later, if that works for you. Okay, so there we go. There's the legs that are going to match up. You get the idea. Cool. Just doing some matching of photos. I didn't get it. There's actually is something called photo match, color match. If you're ever curious as to where something is, I encourage you to use this button right up here. Magnifying glass. Click on that. And you can do color match, or match color as it's called. So match color, it's under image adjustments, match color, okay? The reason it's unavailable is because it needs to be on a certain type of layer. So let's just give it a new layer. Command F, color match, selecting that option, and it will open up color match. From there, and again, I'm not going to get into this detail because I wasn't planning on doing color, but you can take another photo and have this photo match the other photo that you're actually targeting right down here as the source. Okay? So Mariana, I don't know if you know about that, or Amar, Velder, or anyone, but it's kind of cool. So awesome. Fatim, I will work on that later because again, that's actually, maybe I could do it. It works well on images. It doesn't, I don't know if it does that great of a job when it comes to, you know, people, right? Because it tends to shift the color and make them look kind of funky. So let's try it really fast. We will take two images. Give me a second. There we go. Here's the two images. We're going to take background. We're going to take the color of this background and match it to this lady's face. So with this one selected, layer, wait for it, Command F, color match. It finds it in the menu for me, so image adjustments, match color. Wait for it, there it is. Okay, so there's image one. Now let's go ahead and find the background PSD. Yep, that's what it is. Selecting it, it only has one layer. And you can see that it's actually already kind of matching it. There we go. It matched those. Yeah. More tips and tricks later. Just so you know, because there is also, if you wanted to match photos, there's the ability to use, wait for it, load files into a stack and then match those, the perspective. So I will have to do that later. Oh, here we go. No, photo merge is something you can also use. But I think it's actually more of a trick than anything else. A lot of this stuff just takes a lot of hard work. All right, I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Glad you're learning new things, and just stay tuned. Hopefully you like at least this image. I'm going to be posting this to Instagram in a second, and feel free to give me any feedback you might have. Awesome to see such sharp people here with Anne and Andrew and everyone. So thanks for hanging out with me. I'm going to go play with my He-Man back there now. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see ya.